everyone thinks DevOps is probably something a little different than what somebody else thinks,
Yeah.
But on the cloud, I think that it is the center, or should be the center, of your cloud migration journey, because without it, I think that you're going to get yourself in trouble right away.
Welcome to CloudUp.
Today we're going to be talking about why DevOps is critical for your move into the cloud. I think that DevOps, that term is really broad. And I think that when you say DevOps, everyone thinks of something different. From history, on-prem world, multi-cloud, hybrid, blah, blah, blah. Everyone thinks DevOps is probably something a little different than what somebody else thinks,
Yeah.
But on the cloud, I think that it is the center, or should be the center, of your cloud migration journey, because without it, I think that you're going to get yourself in trouble right away.
Yeah, I think first of all, DevOps is tough to define.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? We know there's been a lot of great talks out there that try to get to the definition of what does it mean to DevOps, right? It's the integration of development and operations, and I've run into people who think that means if you do DevOps projects, you're an agile consultant, right? And that's related, right?
Yeah,
so they're not off base.
Not exactly.
But it's not exactly it, right? So I think it's a lot about the process. Agile is about the process of developing, right? And DevOps is about the process after the code's written.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, sometimes I feel like when we look at DevOps, especially when we look at infrastructure as code and infrastructure and networking and policy as code, we have to kind of think it's a strategic framework, right? With DevOps, deploying to the cloud or migrating to the cloud becomes a strategic operation. You have to think in the future. We have to set these things up to get to where we want to be, versus the tactical, which is let's just grab a tool and migrate a bunch of VMs in and we're done.
Yeah.
And that's what I think leads to a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So lift and shift is something that we've talked a lot about over the years, right? And that's the concept in my mind of taking our VMs and our processes and placing them in a cloud provider and then operating them as is.
Yeah,
right. So we kind of moved into someone else's data center.
Right. Exactly.
And we probably missed a lot of advantages that we've got out of the new platform. Right. So I think it's been meaningful for our customers to think about modernizing things as a part of moving into cloud.
Yeah, I think that part has been decoupled somewhat in the beginning because of the desire for the cloud providers to acquire customers. So they wanted the simple message of just lift and shift it over, right?
Right.
And then what happened is a lot of people did that, and then afterwards you're like, why are my costs spiraling out of control? Why are we having all these VMs up and rolling that we have no idea who controls them, who spun them, what they're for? And they're a little bit at a loss, and they have to clean up that mess backwards, which is virtually impossible, but can be done if you break it down into small component pieces.
Yeah, we think about moving VMs in, and I almost always think about moving our little pets in, and we have to take care of them and make sure that they're healthy. And cloud's a lot more ephemeral.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I think the methodology, in my opinion, is definitely to try to find a way to think about infinite scale, think about the fact that we don't have walls on the data center, there's no limits, right? And so we can implement some new processes as we come in.
Sure. I think that if we look at maybe the concepts of CI/CD, infrastructure as code, automation, which lends more to the tool sets that we're using, and expand that outward to process, then suddenly the migration isn't about the single factor cost.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes up a lot, that we're moving for cost. Well, yes, but in what way are you talking about? Is it just saving from your on-prem to going into cloud, or is it that you're saving because you're scaling and growing and you want to scale and grow in a controlled and intelligent manner? What way are you looking at costs? And without having a strategy going in, I think that you can be very surprised because you haven't looked at all the different aspects that can go out of control.
Yeah, I mean the pure cost of compute is one way to look at it, and it's important not to forget about it, right? But what business advantages do we have as a part of the move, and how does that factor in the cost?
Yep.
Just say you paid a little bit more for your VM, right? But you paid per second.
Yes.
Right? That's an advantage.
Yep. And you can scale it, and you can build ephemeral build servers, and you can do things like you were saying before in another talk that you made in Next, that in terms of the billing, a large part of it is you don't understand what you're billing for because you're standing up things without really understanding the cost basis for them or the reasons for them, right?
Yeah.
And automation and things that come within DevOps allow you to kind of think for a second, like, why does this need to be turned on or stood up? What is the purpose for it? Who owns it? Those types of things that you can then start to track with the process.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have SKUs and we have different ways to organize our costs. So now we're able to efficiently align costs with hopefully specific business initiatives. Like if you're a multi-tenant software provider, maybe you could align specific customer costs.
Mm. Oh, I see. Like, so not only internal costs, but costs that you're passing through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can help maybe price your product better, or maybe optimize and find better ways to deliver that particular customer.
I also think that, like, we might talk about this in a little bit, but like the center of excellence idea of how do we start our journey into the cloud with a bunch of people who are already concentrating on these types of topics, right? Mm-hmm. DevOps, ephemerality, infrastructure as code, managing cloud. How do we start there instead of ending up there after the fact, which I think is always not good.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's important to have foundations from the beginning, right? So we deal with a good framework for identity and access, mm-hmm. right? Set up a good framework for networking. Maybe not knowing what needs to talk to what yet, but we implement a good amount of features from a networking side so that our business units can consume what they need to mm-hmm. from there. And it's a good time to get started with infrastructure as code, right? It's a lot more expensive to start infrastructure as code after.
Yeah, for sure.
instead of before when it's net new. So during the foundational stage, it's a really good time to implement some new tool sets.
Yeah, I also think that in terms of DevOps as a buzzword, like DevOps is not strictly an IT function. It's not something that's like isolated or regulated only within the technical component of it. It also has to deal with the business unit, as you're saying, the business drivers, and how we integrate that into the world of the technical, into the IT world, and facilitate that business need through a process.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like to think of DevOps as a mindset, and the mindset is just iterating faster.
Nice, yeah.
Releasing things faster, whether, hopefully it's, customer functionality, but our customers inside our business as well as our actual customers who pay us money.
True.
Thanks for watching this episode of CloudUp.
Leave your comments and questions below and win some Augusto swag.
Thanks, and see you next time.